Hi there, my name is Pilot, and we are going to be doing a Draw This Again challenge. This is the first time that I've ever done voiceover for any of my speed paints, so we'll see how this goes. But I thought it might be fun to, instead of just playing music over, maybe talk about my old pieces and some of the process for the new one. So yeah, hope you enjoy. So the first piece I did, well, the first iteration of this piece was done way back in 2011 when I was still finding my feet as an artist, I think. I was still coming to grips with anatomy and color and value and all that sort of thing. Not to say that I'm a master now, of course, but yeah, definitely could have been improved on back then. So here we have one of my old original characters. Her name is Shindy, and she's in a blizzard, apparently. You can see I kind of covered up the bottom of her face on the first one, well, on both of the iterations before this one, with her scarf. And I can guarantee you 100% that that was just because I did not know how to draw the bottom of her face. Maybe not so much in the second one, but definitely in the first one. That was not an artistic choice. That was just me being, well, I thought I was being sly, probably. Some problems with the first one. She's supposed to be in a blizzard, but it kind of looks like she's either in a sauna or a shower, not to mention the fact that her scarf is blowing the opposite way from where the way the snow is going, and her face looks flat. There's no difference of planes. Her eyes look like they shouldn't be there. They look like they're from a completely different drawing, almost. And yeah, just not very good overall. The second one, not so bad. In 2014, I drew this again, where you can see there's better value recognition and it's not so soft. The other one was really soft. This has some line weight still left in and all that kind of business. And something I was never happy with in the second one is that figure, the mysterious figure in the background. I'm pretty sure after I finished drawing her, Shindy, I decided that it looked rather blank. So I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll add a story element to add some drama. So I don't think I even sketched this figure in the background. I just plunked him on in there post finishing the drawing, and it just looks horrible. You can tell it was rushed, and it's not really certain what's going on. Like, is he just following her? Like, my idea behind it was she's running away from him, but he's like, I don't know, maybe 10 feet behind her. That's not very... She doesn't look very panicked either. So, yeah. He's also supposed to be holding a flashlight, which kind of just looks like a giant snowflake. Glistening there. Although, one thing I did fix was the snow now goes in the same direction as her scarf is blowing, and her hair, which those are probably my favorite things about the second iteration. So I suppose I should probably talk about the speed paint that's going on in the background, which has kind of been neglected so far. So yeah, I was really happy with how the sort of sketch originally turned out. In the very, very beginning, I liked the composition and I liked how it flowed and I just liked how loose it was. I kind of lost that as I went along, sort of the magic of it, but you know, that sort of happens the more you refine things, the stiffer they become, unless of course you train yourself, which I clearly just haven't got to that level yet. So I'm not super disappointed. I'm still super happy with how the end result came out. But yeah, I think in the future I'm probably going to try harder to just make everything flow a bit more as I go ahead and render things out. And my drawing process, it's not really much of a drawing process at all. I sort of sketch, and I do this really loose line art. I've never been good at, you know, super clean line art, which, I envy people who can just make beautiful, crisp, clean lines, but that's just not me. So I basically just make a really loose line art, and then I add sort of the base colors and go in and start painting over it immediately after I have all the shapes down and the colors that I want. And then from there I go on and refine it over and over again. So I'll put down my base colors just in block shapes and stuff. And then after that I'll add in the details and all the little smaller shapes in the piece. And then once that's done, I'll just go back again and add more and more detail until I'm happy. So I just basically do it in layers. Each time I pass over it, more and more detail until it's done. Super tedious, yeah, it can be if you're painting a bit that you've done like 3 or 4 times already and it's super boring, like just, I don't know, a shoe or someone's leg. But in the end, I think it's probably worth it. It's the way that I work best, and it has worked. It's worked for a long time for me. One thing I also wanted to do was sort of play around more with the color scheme. The sort of browns and whites of the last one were super dull, so I thought this was probably a good opportunity to play around with the colors and just make everything a bit more vibrant. And you'll see I actually add my 2 favourite colours because they're complementary, blue and orange, which sort of makes everything pop a bit more and gives the eye, I don't know, a bit of interest, really. More storytelling details that I really wanted to add was sort of the relationship between the two. So now, instead of just standing disinterested, she's kind of, you know, cowering there. Her face or expression is more scared, and he's definitely got the upper hand. He's, you know, he's higher than her in the frame and sort of looking out for her. Don't know how he doesn't see her, considering she's right there, and also you'll see in a bit, she's also bright orange, but you know, they're in a blizzard, visibility is low, that's my excuse. And you'll also see I want to, since he's kind of, his face is covered, you can't really see his expression, I wanted to make it clear that, you know, he's maybe not such a nice guy, so a little later on I'll render his belt, which has some nasty tools and stuff, as well as a pair of handcuffs, which makes it obvious, hopefully, that he's a captor and he's chasing her and stuff. And I suppose I could go into sort of the story behind these characters. So I might have mentioned before, but she's one of my oldest OCs, Shindy, the girl. I made her when I was about 13, 14, so a long time ago. And the story isn't super original. It's basically, so she lives in a world where people are born with superpowers, and when you're born with superpowers, you also look different. So your eyes will be an odd color, or your hair will be like, I don't know, neon pink. Basically, anime heroine syndrome. But yeah, and there's this organization that basically wants to capture all of the people with superpowers and lock them up so that they can study them. And Shindy here is one such superpowered character. She has the superpower of being able to talk to ghosts. So when she ends up getting captured by this organization that wants to, you know, study her, she ends up going to this facility in the middle of nowhere, probably Antarctica or like Siberia or somewhere super snowy where you couldn't leave easily without, you know, the right kind of equipment and stuff. And while she's there, she ends up speaking with a lot of the ghosts of the people who have died there, and with their help and the help of another boy who's been captured, she escapes. The boy, Tom, he doesn't escape. Fuck that guy. But yeah, she escapes, and I guess this picture takes place after she gets out and she's running, and the other character present, he's not a character I made up originally with the rest of the characters. In fact, I'm pretty sure I just made him up on the spot when I was doing the last redraw of this. But he's kind of, he's supposed to be sort of the guy that they call to go and collect these people with superpowers, basically chase them down and bring them in for study. So I guess he's probably, you know, found out that she's escaped, run after her, and now he's looking for her, and who knows what happens next. Maybe he finds her, maybe maybe he doesn't. So yeah, and mostly here I've been focusing on adding texture, because I started with just a soft round brush, which I have been loving lately. It's just so simple and fun, and it blends all the colours together, but I realised it just wasn't giving me the texture that I wanted, basically. So I switched to a more textured brush because, you know, she's in the middle of a blizzard, there's ice, she's probably a bit roughed up from having run so far, so I wanted something with a bit more tooth as well. And I do remember this kind of took me forever to draw. There was a point sort of in the middle where I just got fed up and I was like, this sucks, it's not good, I don't like it. But I just took a break and I came back and I just sort of looked at it with a fresh pair of eyes, and yeah, I managed to get it done, and in the end I was pretty happy with it. I remember her face, the perspective on it gave me a bunch of trouble because I knew I wanted sort of one half of her face to be in a lot of shadow, and just figuring out the right sort of balance was, let's just say, frustrating as hell. Her nose as well was just, it didn't want to play nice, but I got it sort of looking semi-normal eventually. But I did have a lot of fun doing this, even through the hard bits. I think it's almost the perfect remedy for art block, that, or, you know, when you sort of reach that plateau and you're kind of feeling like, you know, your art sucks, why am I not getting any better? Just redraw one of your old drawings and you will see so clearly the improvement that you've been on, no matter how long it might have been. Well, maybe don't like draw something and then a week later draw it again and expect to have made massive progress, but you know, sort of a year in between each piece, and it gives you such a boost of confidence that you just feel like you want to go out and draw some more. And that's also sort of the reason that I've started making these videos. It's going to encourage me to draw more often, because I love just watching the time lapse of my Speedpaints back. It does help me sort of learn and look at my process a little more, what's the word? A little more objectively. So yeah, if you're feeling bummed out about your art, I would recommend just finding something that you've drawn before that is pretty old and is kind of interesting, and just see what you can do with it. That way, you know, you're not starting with a blank canvas and you have something to work off of, which, you know, is kind of the whole thing with art block, really. You just look at canvas and you're like, nope, not today. So yeah. And here I'm just sort of, well, I'm getting towards the end of it now. Everything's sort of in place. I've rendered it past just block colors and stuff. Mostly just adding texture and stuff and fixing some of the anatomy that I wasn't happy with, and some of the lighting as well. I do think that I probably could have rendered a lot of this image more than I did. A lot of it still, if you zoom in, you'll see how messy it is. But that's just kind of par for the course with my artwork. I get to a point where from a proper distance it looks fine, it looks good. Zoom in, not so much. I'm just not a fan of painting every tiny little detail after I've been over something, you know, 4 or 5 times. And I think it works. I don't think art has to be perfect. I don't think it has to be just every little detail rendered perfectly. I might go back at some point, you know, when I'm less tired of the piece, and just fix some things up, but overall, yeah, it's finished, it's done. Finito. And a lot of the stuff from here on is just sort of post-process. I add all the snow and stuff and the textures, and just make use of all those beautiful Photoshop filters to make it look more dynamic and breathe sort of movement into everything, which you know, it's hard as hell when you're just doing it traditionally or with a stroke of your hand. So yeah, I think I'll probably just leave the music to play out the rest of the video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe. I will try upload, you know, weekly, bi-weekly. Let's not make any promises just yet. But yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you around. Bye bye.